Hey guys, this is Gregory Iron. Thanks for checking out this YouTube video. This is actually a free portion of one of our latest Patreon bonus audio episodes. You can get a buttload of bonus content just like this over at patreon.com/irononwrestling, where for $3 you get hundreds of extended and bonus episodes in the archives from the past 5 years of Iron On Wrestling. And I think you're going to like what you hear. We wanted to give you this episode free of charge because, quite frankly, myself and my co-host Aaron Bauer really thought we booked a good angle with the Ultimate Warrior following Summerslam 1992. What if the Ultimate Warrior went to the dark side in the summer of 92? Check it out. Patreon.com bonus episode coming at you. And on this bonus episode, we're going to be talking about
the weather.
Well, that is going to come up, and mostly SummerSlam and the weather. Now, back in 1992 at SummerSlam, which we're going to talk about for a little bit here, the weather was fine. And it was the largest attendance for any SummerSlam ever, and technically speaking, up until like WrestleMania 32, I believe it was the actual biggest attendance ever. Not WrestleMania 3, but
right.
SummerSlam 92 in
Wembley?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And on that event, in the championship match, it was the Ultimate Warrior taking on the Macho Man Randy Savage.
Ooh, that's bad. That is not a good Randy Savage.
That was my voice, but then just like a little growlier. Did you like? You didn't like it?
No, it sounds like when you just wake up in the morning.
I just woke up from
Sleeping.
Here's my Slim Jim.
And I need
Hey,
to get
quit
a little
talking
bit of
about
cardio.
Michael Cash's wife.
Huh? No, I'm talking about. Okay. So, as a refresher, now of course, Ultimate Warrior and Macho Man had that legendary match at WrestleMania 7. Okay.
Where Randy Savage was forced into retirement from wrestling forever, and he
Yeah.
never had another match again,
Yep, until
per stipulation.
late in 1991, so only like 5 months later. So-
yeah.
So that's very memorable. Here's the thing. I have to go back and watch it again.
Mhm.
I never think about how good or how bad Ultimate Warrior versus Macho Man at SummerSlam 92 was, because I think for most people, they hold that show in such high regard for a few reasons. And I'm not saying it's a bad show, but I think it's because A, the spectacle of how it looked, and B, of course, the incredible match between British Bulldog and Bret Hart, which closed the show. However, the Macho Man Ultimate Warrior match, I never really got into because I remember the build-up and watching the match as a kid, the confusion of the idea that Ric Flair and Mr. Perfect were claiming that they were in the corner of one of the competitors.
Right.
But then we never got a true reveal. So as a refresher here, I'm just going to go back in time and read from the Wikipedia what it says. So after Ultimate Warrior came back at WrestleMania 8 on April 5th, 1992, he was granted a shot at the WWF Championship, which Savage had won from Ric Flair earlier that same evening. Flair and his executive consultant, Mr. Perfect, were upset that Flair had not been granted a rematch. They decided to cause trouble between Savage and the Warrior. In August, Perfect claimed that he was in negotiations with both Savage and the Warrior, who had sought his managerial services, but refused to clarify which wrestler he would support at SummerSlam. At the SummerSlam Spectacular, a show designed to promote the pay-per-view, Savage and the Warrior teamed up to face the Nasty Boys. Perfect and Ric Flair interfered in the match, resulting in a count-out victory for the Nasty Boys and creating more animosity between Savage and the Warrior. So, fast forward, the aftermath of the show. Now, I only saw this going down a rabbit hole, and I never heard this before. And on the Wikipedia here, it says that, where's it at? Find it. Okay. Here's why perhaps maybe we didn't get a conclusion to this angle. WWF writers had originally planned that the Ultimate Warrior should be the one to accept Mr. Perfect's services, turning heel in the process of winning that title, and as new champion he would further feud with Savage. After these plans were scrapped at a late stage due to the Warriors' refusal to turn heel after considering the collapse in merchandise sales, which would have resulted, the two built on the replacement booking Burial of the Hatchet, turning their newfound alliance into a tag team, the Ultimate Maniacs, and were scheduled to face Flair and Ramon at Survivor Series 1992. However, of course, the Warrior had been fired by the promotion on November 21st, along with the British Bulldog, because they were doing HGH. His spot was surprisingly offered Mr. Perfect, who accepted it, and then it became Perfect and Macho Man versus Ric Flair and Razor Ramon. So, until I read this Wikipedia,
So, wait, Ultimate Warrior and Macho Man were the Ultimate Maniacs?
they were.
So, what was Perfect and Macho Man? The Perfect Men?
The Perfect Machos.
Oh, yeah.
Macho Perfection.
I like it.
So I'm clicking the link to the article from What Culture that apparently they talked about this heel turn that was supposed to happen. The article doesn't cite a reference where that would come from, but it got me to thinking. We never get to see the Ultimate Warrior as a bad guy, and even though he's, this beacon of hope and inspiration now in the WWE lineage, he didn't really seem like that great of a guy in real life.
It's not like the WWF to have done that, though, right? I mean, they never did it with anybody like Hulk Hogan, where they pretend he was this really genuinely good guy who underlying was maybe real bad.
Homelander. Anyways, you know what? Also, real quick, much like Homelander, Hulk Hogan never gets out of his outfit. Always has the bandana on, no matter what. Fucking weird.
Yeah.
So, it got me to thinking, in looking at this Ultimate Warrior heel turn potential, what would it look like if at SummerSlam 92, the Ultimate Warrior aligned with Mr. Perfect and Ric Flair and became a bad guy? So, there's two potential ways we could look at this.
The Nature Warriors?
The Warrior Boys.
The Ultimate Boys.
Oh, no. Oh, God.
Woo!
They're all bad. So we can book this two ways. We can turn him heel and then have him still get popped for HGH in November to see what we can get out of 3 months, or we could just pretend like hypothetically that doesn't happen. They keep him around, what that looks like. First of all, what does Ultimate Warrior do to turn heel? What are the shenanigans that take place?
Perfect. Well, Perfect has to hand the chair to Macho Man.
Mm-hmm.
And then Macho Man is like, no, I never made a deal with you. And when he turns around, Ultimate Warrior throws a fireball in Macho Man's face then. And it catches his beard on fire.
That does seem like par for the course of the time.
Yeah.
See, that was my mixed bag, because in my head, as I'm thinking about 1992, we still have a lot of ridiculous shit happening, right?
Yeah.
But by the time we get to 1993, because of the transition that we have to make because of the steroid situation, there are aspects on top that become a little bit more serious, and I think that helps that Bret Hart is the champion. So that way, like, we don't have the cartoony champion anymore, like a Hulk Hogan, right? Bret is like a little bit more serious. Some of his opponents are a little bit more serious, like Yokozuna and stuff like that. So now that you said the chair thing, I can imagine a scenario where we do a ref bump, okay? And the ref bump happens. Still the same thing. Slide the chair into Macho. We have this moment. Flair and maybe Flair takes a bump, right? Mr. Perfect's up on the apron. Macho's got the chair in his hand, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna hit you. I don't want to use the chair. I'm gonna hit you with it." He goes to take it back. Ultimate Warrior takes it. He's in the face of Mr. Perfect too. Like, kind of pushes Macho Man back to the side, right? He's in the face of Mr. Perfect, and then out of nowhere, he turns around, swings the chair, blasts Macho Man in the head with the chair. Crowd's in shock. Ref is down. And then, of course, I don't know. I think it's as simple as, we make it official. Maybe a little look between Warrior and Mr. Perfect. Warrior hits the ropes 2 times, hits the big splash. Ref comes to. Maybe Mr. Perfect revives the ref. Maybe Ric Flair took that little bumpski, revives the ref. Count the fall. 1, 2, 3. Ultimate Warrior is the new WWF champion at SummerSlam 1992.
Yeah, or Flair could have done a nut shot.
I could see Flair doing a nut shot as well.
Yeah. And then as Macho Man, like...
Oh, you're adding to it. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So Flair comes in, Perfect's in, they're in the ring, and Macho Man, hey, it's we cut a deal, and Savage is like,
Oh, no.
and as he turns around, then Flair drops down to his knees and hits Macho Man in his Slim Jim, and then Warrior's looking like, what? No, you didn't. And then he hits that shoulder tackle, and then looks at Perfect. Perfect gives the nod.
Yeah.
Warrior gives the nod back. I just don't think Warrior would have been subtle enough. I just don't think he can pull that off.
Okay.
But say he does. He hits a splash, 1, 2, 3. He's the new champion. Then how do we get the belt to Flair to get it to Bret Hart? We don't, right?
So here's the
Because
thing.
then Flair turns babyface.
I feel like I heard something at some point.
Oh, Bret Hart beats Warrior? No way Warrior would have let Bret Hart go over.
Well, I don't think that would have happened either. But
Yeah.
I think the most marquee match you could have done if Warrior hangs around in the 93.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, listen, Yokozuna probably would have got a push eventually. But, like, also, I mean, we could. I think we've kind of talked about this before. The fact that Macho Man isn't even performing on WrestleMania 9 when that card sucks so much dick is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact, if you have Ultimate Warrior in 93, I feel like you couldn't do anything other than, if you didn't do Bret Hart and Macho, which clearly you didn't, why not do Bret Hart and Ultimate Warrior? But how do we get there? Because Ric Flair is going to leave.
Or do we have Yokozuna versus Ultimate Warrior? And Yokozuna goes over for the title.
But Ultimate Warrior is a
Oh,
hero.
shit, yeah, never
Yeah.
mind.
We're making him a bad guy. So here's my thinking, and, like, tell me where you fall on it. Like, I feel like, because my next thing was, and that's why I started talking about, like, well, Bret Hart was a little bit more of a serious character despite the cartooniness that was around him. If Warriors with Flair and Perfect, I feel like this might have been an opportunity to bring out more of the bad guy that was Jim Hellwig. You know what I'm saying? And
what
like,
if he would have dressed in a suit?
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
and
with
so,
Perfect.
And so there are, like, with what you said,
Yeah.
and with the suit thing, there are Tatanka vibes, which
Yeah.
we would see in 94. But I feel like if we could figure out how to bring who Jim Hellwig was to the surface, like this actual unlikable, pompous dickhead in a suit, but still kind of wears the face paint.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like there's hints of because I feel like if he decides that he wants to be a bad guy, he's still going to want to sell some merch, right? And so he's gonna all right, he was gonna sneeze, but he didn't. I think he's still going to want to have that Warrior face paint because that's helping sell the merch. There's heel merch.
No,
okay? He could've sold something.
maybe he has that paint on, but maybe the tie just has that Ultimate Warrior symbol all over it.
He could have always gone back to, like, the little Warrior symbol on the cheek.
Yeah, that was
You know
so
what I mean?
whack.
I could see him doing, like, a Sting thing, like a Warrior symbol on the cheek and sunglasses.
Mm-hmm.
Like real dickhead move, right? And
Yeah.
also, he's a bad guy because he would be wearing sunglasses.
Yep.
Which is really a sign.
Maybe grow some facial hair.
Yeah, the only other thing he would need would be like a sparkly shirt to wear to the ring or something, or perhaps a vest to really, bring it home to tell everyone, hey guys, I'm wearing sunglasses, I'm wearing a sparkly over the top color that no one would wear in real life.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm a bad guy.
Yep.
But yeah, I could see him almost like, I don't want to say Four Horsemen style Ultimate Warrior, but I think there would be elements of that because if we can get Jim Hellwig to cut a promo and not Ultimate Warrior, because in some ways, if you fast forward 4 years to 96 when Warrior comes back, there are elements of a more serious human at times. And if we could just do that in 1992, I feel like there's potential to get real heat on him. Going into Survivor Series, which would be the next pay-per-view, I think. So here's my only problem. what are we doing with Flair? Because Flair was just in the title picture. If Warrior wins the title, that means Flair never wins the title back from Macho Man. What happens between Flair and Warrior? Is there a situation where perhaps
Flair has to be mad at Mr. Perfect then?
See,
Flair has to turn babyface.
That's what I was gonna say.
Because then it's like, hold on, wait a second, man. Maybe it's the whole like the Sergeant Slaughter Macho Man deal where Flair wasn't going to get a title shot.
Yes,
Okay.
which is part of the problem. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like Flair's
so
upset.
he wasn't going to get a title shot and then Warrior. That's part of the deal. Warrior turns. Mr. Perfect is his manager. Warrior gets a title. First title shot goes to Ric Flair because that's all Flair's ever cared about was the title.
Yeah.
But now Warrior's like, I won the belt. I'm reneging.
Mm.
And then Flair's like, hold on. I'm the dirtiest player in the game.
And I think something happens where Mr. Perfect is trying to stay sort of neutral, but he's clearly leaning towards his new toy, right? Like he's
new
like
shiny toy. Yep.
Yeah, Ultimate Warrior.
And then he
a little
could
bit
talk
younger.
for,
Yeah, a little
for
bit younger, a little bit more in shape. He's got this new attitude that maybe he's got a little bit more of a bad side than this aging Flair. Because again, if you look at the narrative at the time,
Flair, who was 40.
Flair, 40-year-old man, just past his prime.
Yeah, they were already trying to get him to retire.
Yeah, so
Same with Savage.
So maybe there's something to Perfect and Warrior, jumping Ric Flair at some point.
Yeah.
Not giving him his title shot, he becomes a babyface, and maybe that's Flair's final program upon his exit back to WCW.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I like all that.
Like maybe we could have done. Oh wow, this changes so much. Yeah. Boy, because now your main event for So I guess we can come back and maybe fill in the gap somewhere there. Is Warrior and Ric Flair a team at Survivor Series though? And this is like one of the last things before the turn?
Yeah, then you don't get Razor Ramon.
Maybe Razor Ramon's a babyface.
No.
No?
Razor Ramon doesn't come in as no babyface.
You don't think so?
But maybe he's the hired heavy.
Maybe.
Man, what about that faction? Mr. Perfect, Razor Ramon, the Ultimate Warrior, and for a brief minute before he gets kicked out, Ric Flair.
Okay.
Now Flair and Ramon have a program.
Let's make Ramon the heavy because you know what? We're gonna put Bret Hart as a tag team partner for Macho Man because we're setting the table for him to be in the main event anyways.
Yep.
So at Survivor Series, we'll do something else with Shawn. He's the Intercontinental Champion anyways, but then you would have Bret and Macho Man in the main event of Survivor Series 92. Because remember, they didn't close the show with that. They closed it with the WWF title match in the Richfield Coliseum. No, it was title for title.
Oh, yeah.
Title for title. Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. Yeah. So we put Shawn on earlier with someone. Then we'll do Bret Hart and Macho Man versus Ric Flair and the Ultimate Warrior, which is crazy to think about. With Mr. Perfect and Razor Ramon in the corner. All the odds are against these guys. Maybe something happens where Ric Flair shits the bed despite the advantage.
Oh, no, you got to put Shawn Michaels in that faction, too.
Really?
Shawn Michaels, yes. He'll be the Randy Orton of the group, of the Evolution.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because Shawn, he's got the Intercontinental title, and you got the Warrior with the World
Let's not do it that night, though.
Okay.
Let's do because what I'm thinking is Flair does something to fuck up, take the pinfall.
Yeah.
And so now Razor, Perfect, and Warrior are all pissed off at Flair because he dropped the ball.
Yeah.
It was a 2-on-4 situation.
Yeah.
How did you fuck this up?
Yeah.
And he's the wink link. He's got to go. Somehow we could bring in Shawn Michaels into play. Maybe we could even do that a couple months down the line. Right? I don't even know if Shawn has to be involved for the initial turn.
No, you're right. Then they pick him up.
Yeah.
Like we found our Ric Flair. He's younger. He's more handsome. He's more athletic. He's faster.
Yeah.
He gets more chicks.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, that's perfect. That's actually perfect because that's that Warrior's role.
Right.
Warrior's styling and profiling and banging girls. Like he's not doing that. Wow. Okay.
And then so you got Ric Flair on the other side because Damn, this would be a Survivor Series then. It would be, you know what I mean? Like a
Yeah.
4.
Well, but remember
we're not doing that. Yeah, I
Survivor
know.
Series 92, they did one Survivor Series match.
Yeah.
They were trying to almost phase that out in 92.
Yeah, that
right?
sucked. I'm so pissed at that.
So,
So then you got Macho Man on the babyface side, Bret Hart on the babyface side. Who else would be on?
so
Ric Flair.
So I think we have Flair until the Rumble. So instead
Yeah.
of doing the loser leaves town thing on Raw, I think the WWF Championship match at the Royal Rumble is the Ultimate Warrior versus Ric Flair.
Yeah.
If Ric Flair wins, obviously he's the champion. But if he loses,
He has
he's
to
got to leave the
retire.
WWF.
Yeah,
Why
loser,
drag it out
yep.
for fucking 3 more weeks or whatever it
Yeah.
was? Obviously, I think Flair fails. He
Yep.
goes back to WCW. Again, so
And then you're automatically Sean's got to help out in that. That's maybe Sean. That's where Sean helps out.
yeah,
Then
Yeah.
Sean's made
good for sure.
because then it's like, well, what is Shawn Michaels doing here?
Then I think somewhere else on the card, look, you can still have Razor versus Brett. It's just not for the title.
Yeah.
There's still a grudge going back to Survivor Series, so we could still do that match on the show. Sean, earlier in the night, he wrestled Marty Jannetty. Marty Jannetty
Yep.
came back, so we could still kind of tie that in. So
Yep.
maybe Marty's on the babyface.
Yeah.
How are we just pulling this out of our ass right now?
Yeah, but I love it.
I think it helps that we just know this off the top of our head, sadly.
And then Hacksaw Duggan.
No, we're not involving Hacksaw in this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, that's not happening. But
Okay.
yeah, I could see Marty on the babyface
Yep.
side because we're at least going to have him. Well, he's going to get fired that day, but he'll be back in like 3 months
Yeah, yeah.
after WrestleMania. Yeah, that's fine.
Yep. I mean, they could injure him.
They could, but that would be like they knew for sure they were going to fire him, which they kind of did because
you should have known. Yeah,
I think
He
the
gets
narrative-
fired every other year.
Well, I think the narrative was at the time was Sean and Marty were having these incredible matches on the house shows, and I think it's been said by maybe Marty that they were having a match that the night before or maybe 2 nights prior, people were saying like, holy shit, like this is one of the best matches we ever see. And then Sean and Marty were kind of like, oh, if we have this match at the Rumble, we're going to tear the fucking house down, right?
Yeah.
And then Marty gets fucked up or whatever. Him and Sean get into a real scuffle. Sean ends up showing up to the building like legit beat up supposedly by Marty. And it becomes a whole thing where Sean throws Marty under the bus and all this shit, which leads to, I think they did a non-finish or like a DQ finish at the Rumble. And it ends in a backstage brawl and Sherry's involved because she's kind of like in the middle of this whole thing. So then Marty's gone for a few months. But
Wait, when Ric Flair leaves, they have to get somebody to replace Ric Flair on the babyface side now.
they do.
And that could be Ricky Steamboat. Because he comes
Ooh.
back as the dragon, but he's not the fire-breathing dragon.
Okay.
Wow, what if you had babyface Rick Steamboat?
We could. What was he doing at WCW at the time?
I don't know. He left. He was like part of Sting's squadron, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So he did a War Games match, and then he came back to WWF as a fire-breathing dragon.
He came back before that.
Oh,
He'd
son
already
of a
left.
bitch.
That's
Okay.
why I'm saying like, oh, are we changing
Okay.
some defections? Because that was 91.
Okay, we
When
can't change
Steamboat.
defections.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, we kind of did because Warrior should have been fired already.
Well, yeah.
But this is actually more intriguing.
I want
than
Rick
would've
Steamboat
thought.
and Shawn Michaels. That's what I was building to.
That would have been great. That would have been great. I wonder.
Oh man, but then you got Rick Steamboat and Randy Savage together on the same team.
Ooh,
They did
boy.
it at a Survivor Series for Hogan, I think.
Well, we also have to do something like. I don't think we can't align everybody in this faction with. Let's see, because right now we got Warrior, Sean, Razor, and Perfect. And honestly, it's
That's
kind
enough.
of Four Horsemen-ish, honestly. Without
That's all right.
Flair. Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah,
Because
they are showing flair. Like we're going with the younger.
and we don't have to. Obviously, we're not going to do this, but like on TV in a few months, WCW's bringing back the Four Horsemen, and
Yeah.
they're probably like, oh, they got this bootleg Four
yeah,
Horsemen.
yeah,
over on
we're
the
gonna bring in
WWF
Paul
show.
Roma.
Yeah, listen, we got the real muscle guy. Wow. Okay, so we're coming around the corner to WrestleMania 9. So instead of doing Brett and Yoko, we're doing Warrior and Brett, which means in '93, that was the first year that the winner of the Rumble went on to WrestleMania. So maybe we have Brett do double duty. I mean, that wasn't an atypical thing for the time. I mean, there was plenty of years where a guy had a regular match and they put him in the Rumble because the roster was a little short-handed.
Yeah.
I mean, 93 was a year they had like fucking Carlos Colon in the Rumble. Like,
Yeah.
Like, and when Gorilla Monsoon's the youngster, Carlos Colon, he's like 50 years old at the time. So let's get fucking Carlos Colon out of the goddamn Rumble. We put in Bret Hart. It comes down to like Macho, Yoko, and Bret, and maybe someone else in the Final Four, another heel. Because I don't remember what the Final Four was.
Razor.
But I do know, maybe it's Razor. I mean, they wrestled earlier in the show. There's a little bit of heat there.
Yeah.
Something
So Razor goes over earlier in the show, and then Bret Hart knocks him out of the Rumble.
There you go. So, Razor's gone. Yoko takes out Macho because Macho, still in this timeline, stupidly does an elbow off the top rope and pins Yokozuna. And Yokozuna pops him off, and in no way does Macho Man just jump and throw himself over the top rope. So it's just down to Bret and Yoko. I could see Bret doing some sort of leverage type scenario like Benoit did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
in the 2004 Rumble.
Yeah.
And
I don't remember that.
So what Benoit did in...
No, I remember it. I'm saying that is if I were to watch WWE Network,
I got you. So whatever the case is, Bret wins the Rumble. He gets his title shot at WrestleMania 9. And so we do Warrior and Bret. And I can't imagine this match is going to be great or long, but neither was the match between Bret and Yoko.
Yeah, but it's Bret Hart.
And
you know what I mean? If anybody... You know that Macho Man got a great match out of Ultimate Warrior.
Yes.
At least one great match out of him. I think Bret Hart could do the same.
Yeah.
Because really, Bret Hart was like the next Macho Man.
Sure.
Can
we pull Macho off commentary and have him wrestle Yokozuna at WrestleMania 9? Because they ended up doing that in the build-up to WrestleMania 9. Again, why in the fuck is Macho Man Randy Savage not on your WrestleMania card? And
I don't know, but with Fuji with the salt and waving the flag and Yokozuna supposedly from Japan at the time.
Yeah. In
the ring, waving the flag, throwing the salt, and Macho Man was in the All-American gear. You know, that's natural. That's easy right there.
Yeah.
You know, we beat any wrestler. Is that racist?
No.
That was my Fuji impersonation.
That's how we said it.
Beat anybody.
It's not like you're making this up. It's not like he talked in like a very clear voice. It was like, ladies
so then
and gentlemen.
you send out Barry Horowitz first.
Okay.
Okay? He can't get the job done.
Yeah.
Next you send out Duke the Dumpster. I don't know who the baby
Duke ain't there yet.
Okay.
He ain't there till 94.
All right, so you send out like 3 or 4 baby faces that are lower card.
Sure.
All right, and then finally you get like a Crush type that's in the mid card. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, here's a big guy. He's going to take down Yokozuna, almost like the Slam.
Yeah.
And nope. Yoko with the chop to his throat squashes him.
Okay.
And then there's like nobody left, and Macho Man stands up from the commentary desk with his All-American gear on, and he takes off the cowboy hat, takes off the sunglasses.
So this is at WrestleMania.
Yeah, just right there, a Yoko Open challenge.
All right.
And then Savage gets in the ring, and then they have a match. And I guess probably Savage would have to win, but he doesn't have to.
Yeah.
You could still have him, or you could have him win by count out. We've seen that happen before.
I'm down with that. So the main event, Ultimate Warrior versus Bret Hart, though. Ultimate Warrior, this big heel, been wearing his suits and his sunglasses and his little logo painted on his cheek. He's had Mr. Perfect, Razor, and Shawn Michaels in his corner. Shawn Michaels just had a scuffle earlier in the show with Lex Luger. They had a weird match. No, they didn't have a match. Shawn wrestled Tatanka, right? But he ends up getting into a Lex Luger. Mr. Perfect originally wrestled Lex Luger.
Wait, why did Shawn and Luger get into it?
'Cause
they were both heels.
I
but
know.
Shawn bumped into Luger while he was posing in the mirror.
It was something backstage during the Mr. Perfect Luger match. They end up going backstage. I think Shawn ends up beating up Mr. Perfect because they're going to do a match at SummerSlam 93 that was not good, despite it being Shawn Michaels and Mr. Perfect. Like, it was not a great match.
Yeah.
Like, it was just okay. So obviously that changes in the timeline. But whatever, let's skip over that. Main event, Warrior and Bret.
Yeah.
Brett's winning the belt, right?
Yep.
Okay. Here's my idea for the finish. Brett wins the belt.
Wow, that's a good finish.
Brett wins the belt. Okay. Sharpshooter. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Something, but whatever. We get a nice little. I think Brett can get a nice 12 to 15 minute match out of the Ultimate Warrior. We got a lot of smoke and mirrors with Mr. Perfect and Razor
A lot
Ramon.
of outside interference.
Razor Ramon just jobbed out Bob Backlund earlier in the night. He's ready to go. He's feeling good. Shawn Michaels couldn't help get the job done. Bret Hart stands triumphant in the ring. Okay? Mr. Perfect grabs a mic. This is bull crap. Ultimate Warrior, you dropped the ball. You're fired. Fires Ultimate Warrior, okay? He goes, actually, I've got a new member of this alliance. Someone that wants to challenge you right now, Bret Hart. All of a sudden, Real American begins to play.
I knew it.
Hulk Hogan comes out. Says, you're a real man, Bret Hart. You'd accept my challenge right now for the WWF Championship. Bret Hart says, you're on. Hogan comes into the ring, marches into the ring, rips his goddamn shirt off. He's a good man, both on camera and in real life. We know this. Circles Bret Hart. The bell rings. Bret goes to hit him with the championship for no reason. Babyface, but he's trying to get the advantage. You're Hogan. 3 punches. Whips him. Big boot. Big leg. 1, 2, 3. In like 39 seconds, Hulk Hogan beats Bret Hart
Yeah.
for the WWF Championship, and he's no longer Hulk Hogan. He's known as Triple H.
Yeah.
Hollywood Hulk Hogan. And he's the new leader of the once led Ultimate Warrior faction with Mr. Perfect, Razor Ramon, and Shawn Michaels.
Oh, man.
Wow.
And they call it NWODX.
I would like that. The new
It's
world.
Triple H.
Yeah, it's
It's Shawn Michaels.
It is.
It's Scott Hall.
Yeah.
It's Kurt Hennig.
Yeah. So a nice little click there.
Yeah, I like it all. Except I hate that idea.
Yeah. Well, what would you do for the finish?
Oh, the finish is.
Because we have to. I mean,
Now the finish is.
can you really change the timeline though, where Hulk
I
Hogan
don't know.
politics his way into the main event?
I'm not into that.
What?
What I'm into is the Ultimate Warrior has Bret Hart up for the Gorilla Press,
Okay.
and Bret rolls him up in a victory roll.
Oh,
from that.
would be a very creative finish.
Yeah,
though,
1, 2, 3.
That Bret Hart would do. Yeah.
Yeah, Warrior gets mad, throws his bandanas on the ground.
He's got
walks out.
bandanas.
You know, his armbands.
Oh, his armbands.
Yeah.
Okay.
His tassels.
Okay.
Throws him down. Walks out of the WWF forever,
Wow.
or for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And Mr. Perfect grabs him like, says, "You're fired.
Okay.
You're a stupid piece of shit."
Okay. Jesus Christ.
And he says, "Bret Hart, I'd like to extend the offer. You be part of the Perfect Alliance."
Oh.
And Bret Hart goes to shake his hand, and then he double legs him, puts him in a sharpshooter, and that ends the show. Macho Man comes out and waves the American flag.
For no reason. Well, he's back on commentary.
Oh,
He
yeah.
went back to commentary anyways with Bobby and JR. We could probably book further, but I think, in a half hour,
And we just came up with the greatest shit of all time.
we booked August to April, and we kind of fixed WrestleMania 9.
Yeah.
I feel like we could probably fix that whole show if we really wanted to, but I think
Oh,
we did a
yeah.
pretty damn good job.
Yep.